So as a forward, Phaedra, how would you characterize the scrums? They seem pretty equal so far.
Yeah, very low. Scrums look pretty stable. They look pretty well contested on both ends. You're getting some skewing, in some, but not bad, not bad. That ball was fielded by Kathleen Ryan, fullback for New York. And now Nicole Humphreys.
And now we have a breakaway.
Yeah. She's taking it. Good support catches up. Molly Dangler, number 2. She offloads to her, and New York's looking pretty strong right now. This is when they can capitalize the most, but they lost possession. Lost possession in the ruck.
Again, another penalty.
Yeah, not rolling away. So that's the 5th penalty, I think. 4th or 5th penalty against New York, and I think the referee's going to have a discussion with the captain.
So it's really interesting. We haven't had much possession on the New York side, but it seems like when they do get possession, they're doing a lot of positive things with the ball. So I think it's going to become really important for the DC Furies to keep possession of the ball if they want to keep control of this game.
Absolutely. New York, this is a very young team. I mean, a number of these girls, I recognize their faces, but I don't really know them, being a New York player myself. And so it's going to come down, especially in the beginning of this game, to discipline. And older players would naturally, you'd think, have a little bit more discipline just because they're more comfortable in the game. The New York or the DC Fury side is certainly showing great poise and discipline in avoiding or in not committing penalties. So this New York side, this young New York side, talented young New York side, certainly they're going to have to cut down on these penalties.
So we're going to have another kick to touch here, which doesn't quite make it. And New York is able to retain possession.
Nice little pickup there by prop Rachel Hughes. All right. Nice phase 3 play as New York makes the gain line. And they just continue to pound down DC in this phase. And they lost possession there. No support. No support there immediate for New York. The support player was off to the left. So positioning of your positioning of support is key. And rather than always looking for the offload, you sometimes need to just look to win that ball, win the possession.
So I'm looking through the bios here of the two teams, and we have what I always find really fascinating about rugby is the caliber of not only the caliber of athlete that it attracts, but the professions that these are women that are taking time out of their very hectic and professional lives to come down here and play rugby. We have a breakaway here by New York. Come down here and play rugby, and they really are doing it on their own dime. But they're taking time out of their professional lives, and we really have the gamut of professions out there. We have medical doctors and attorneys and financial traders on both sides.
Certainly.
We have a lot of lawyers on the field.
A lot of lawyers. Probably a lot of people out of work, but a lot of lawyers definitely. And New York is knocking on the door to a try here. And with the mishandle, went back, and looks like number 14, that is Angela Yu, puts it down for the first try of the game for New York. That was just an amazing patience, well played offload from Kathleen Ryan to Nicole Humphreys, and then spinning it off to Angela for that try in the corner.
So far these two teams seem pretty well matched. It's both teams have good defense. It seems like when New York gets possession of the ball, they are going to be dangerous. So I think it is important for the DC Furies to try to starve them of possession.
So that brings us to a score of 5 New York Rugby Club, 0 DC Furies. Number 10, it's Mary McCarthy, will be attempting conversion here. And as you can see, folks at home, the wind is a factor. Ball blows off the tee. She resets it.
Mary McCarthy, who is a research assistant, currently residing in Brooklyn, New York.
Just short on that kick, but it was she had the accuracy, just didn't have the distance. So we're still here at a score of 5 New York, DC Fury 0, or 5-0 DC. DC down. And off the we have an obstruction, unintentional, but an obstruction nonetheless. Jordan Lexon catching that kickoff and trying to make her way down the field. So DC decides to run this penalty.
For the number of penalties that have gone against New York, they really have done a good job of kind of neutralizing that.
They certainly have.
So far.
Certainly have, and Inez. Tables just turned, however, penalty against the Furies. I think that's the first of the game, which is not too bad considering, like you said, the penalty count against New York to this point. Well kicked ball there, considering the factors. A little windy. Ball's being thrown there to Rosie Meisner, who's going to be going on tour with the Eagles coming up very soon.
Yes, they leave on Tuesday for a fall European tour. And there are...
It's a nice little display of agility and talent by Kathleen Ryan. But stepped out. Thought she may have turned the corner and had it.
So for those of you watching this morning who are interested in following the Eagles, they are leaving for the European tour. They will be playing in Italy and France, and they will be leaving this Tuesday. And you have a chance to get involved and support the women's Eagles. There is a 5-day challenge that is going on right now that if you donate to the women's Eagles, your donation will be matched. There's a generous and anonymous supporter that has agreed to match up to $4,000 for gifts received today through November 13th in order to help the women's Eagles reach their $25,000 fundraising goal. And that's a really important thing to understand, that these women that are representing the U.S., they have to pay a lot of their own expenses.
Still, even in this day and age. And I know we can reflect on how we've had to pay over the years. But yeah, So get out there and support these Eagles. There are a couple of girls that are on the field right now, as I mentioned earlier. Helen Rosie Meisner, R2 as we will refer to her for the rest of the game, because I do not know that name. And Laura Miller for the DC Furies. Both of these ladies will be joining the rest of the crew on this tour.
So for information on how to donate, visit www.usarugby.org/Women's Eagles.
And now we have a scrum down to New York, as they've shown some dominance. I think they heard us talking about their penalty count and their the discipline issue, and so they've kind of corralled it in and are making a better impact now.
Well, I think there's something to be said about, we're 20 minutes into the game now. I think a lot of those jitters have been calmed a little bit, and so we'll probably start seeing fewer penalties on both sides.
Yeah. And
as the game goes on.
Agreed. And it seems like, too, the people who have been noted by each of these teams in terms of leadership and who's shown the most leadership all season are stepping up. Kathleen Ryan, Lacey Higgins, and the forwards are really now taking control and or at least leading by example, and that tends to be the best way to motivate your teammates. Leading by example, playing by example. Now there's a penalty there, assessed again against DC Furies, as New York takes the quick tap.
So these two teams, they're playing for the semifinals of the second tier in the Women's Premier League Championship, which means that they are playing for spots 5 through 8. And it's interesting that New York is a club that they won the inaugural Women's Premier League Championship in 2009, and then they repeated in 2010. And so you had mentioned that they're a young team that maybe has lost some of their more experienced players, Phaedra?
Yeah, after the 2010 win, a number of players retired, and so yeah, you're basically in somewhat of a rebuilding phase, but it looks like they are rebuilding well. And Erica Granger takes the ball, gets thrown out, but takes to the outside and takes the pressure off essentially of New York. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Rebuilding. Every team experiences it. Some teams experience it and feel it in different ways, but it's a beautiful thing, right? You have new talent, fresh talent, cultivating new talent. And Heidi Rubenstein, who's the head coach of New York, and our assistant Will Schnapp, I think have done a great job this season. Heidi is not with us today, as she gave birth earlier this week. Baby Ryan, beautiful baby girl. But they've done a great job of working with this team, and the team itself has done a great job of working hard and not giving up, and that's what it's all about. It's about learning and rebuilding, and certainly, again, every team can identify with that because every team experiences it.
Absolutely. And the Furies actually had their season, their overall record this season is 1-5, and it seems like they really had suffered a lot of injuries this year, which I think is reflective in that overall record, which is, that happens to teams. You get a string of bad luck, you get injuries in your top players, and then your record suffers for it. But it seems that they are all back this weekend.
They were plagued with some injuries, the DC Furies. An eye injury, broken rib, ankle injuries, knee injuries, concussions, all of those things play a big role in you know the dynamics of the team. But again, every team experiences that, and it's good to see these players are here and they seem healthy and they're playing well, making the best of it. So
absolutely.
and one of the note the team one of the team's strengths for DC is their balance. Their attack is very balanced on attack, and so they don't have to rely on the talents of one or two players to carry them, and that's the kind of balance that wins championships, that makes it to that does well at championships. Takes time to achieve that balance, but once it's achieved, it's success. It tends to lend itself to success.
Yeah, and you can definitely see that today, that they are dangerous with ball in hand, but they're doing a good job of winning the ball at the contest at the ruck, winning their own scrums. So you can see that they are a team that doesn't necessarily have one star player that they are reliant on, but
right. And DC takes that quick tap from the scrum half, moves it up. Now the pressure is on New York to defend. Always more pressure to defend when you're your end of the field. DC is doing a great job of moving that ball closer and closer to the try zone. I'm betting on this line out that New York is going to kick it.
that's certainly what I would do in this situation.
But I would give a thought to driving in this area. Buy some time, suck in the flankers, keep them honest, or suck in the back end of the line out, alleviating the defensive pressure on the fly half. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's important right now to give the fly half a little bit of breathing room.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the breathing room of the fly half, Inez. I think that was not straight, so
we're gonna have a scrum.
Yeah, I think DC has elected to have a scrum, which is actually, in the olden days, as they say, to request well, actually, this is probably a choice of, as in the olden days, to have a scrum. It's kind of like a duel. Okay, so most teams would pick a scrum as a way to, I don't know, show their strength and basically run over other teams. I don't know. That's my perception. It looks like DC has done that. They won possession, but I think
it's a very windy day.
Yeah, these elements, it was a smart decision.
Oh, so, and that's a bit unlucky.
A little unlucky there, yeah. A little mishandle. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of scrums as opposed to lineouts when that option is available to the teams today. It just makes sense.
We have seen a couple lineouts not go straight. The wind is taking it a little bit, taking the ball a little bit. So I think, as you mentioned, it's important to be a little bit safe in this, especially in this part of the field. You don't necessarily want to take a risk.
Right.
And again, both teams are very well balanced and very well matched at the scrum.
DC just took the scrum from New York. They just drove them 3 or 4 meters back. And they are determined to try to get this ball in. As York defends strongly. It looks like there's another turnover. And there's a kick. I don't know if that was intended to go in that direction, but New York catches a break here and will be awarded the scrum put in.
So I had a coach that used to say you can kick out of desperation or you can kick out of inspiration.
that may have actually
and that looked
been
like a kick out of desperation.
Yeah, absolutely. Which happens.
Usually the kicks out of desperation don't necessarily go exactly as planned.
Right. And that's unfortunate knock on there by New York. So we're playing in DC Furies, their green zone. This is a time when I think DC should be patient, work through their phases and try to wear down the defense. And that's the way. Rushing a score in one phase or two phase may not be the way in this game. The defense of New York is strong, and so
absolutely what they've shown. And right now it does seem that DC is just trying to break through the line, really, with the first touch of the ball, without really setting much up in terms of phase play. Would you agree?
I most certainly agree. And it's that patience and poise that they need to display right now that will get them in there. Again, especially against a good defense. And as you can see, the rushing of the passes has led to a forward pass. And subsequently, a turnover to New York. Very, very important scrum here. And that's the second time that scrum is skewed to the left for DC. New York gets lucky there, able to capture that ball.
That really does show the importance of catching the ball, catching kicks on the fly and not letting them bounce. Once you get a bounce of the ball, you never know where it's going to go, and that could have been a good opportunity for the Furies to attack there, had that ball not bounced on the ground.
Absolutely. DC is on the run now. Got one girl to beat, but they can't beat her. We got a lot of people involved in that ruck. And a penalty against New York.
Having a conference here between
line judge and
assistant referee and the head referee.
And that's a try. It's determined that that's a try awarded to DC. So we have a tie game here, 5-5.
And for those of you just joining us, you're watching the 2012 Emirates Airlines USA Rugby Women's Club Championships. This is the semifinals of the Tier 2 competition between the Washington, D.C. Furies and the New York Rugby Club. It's been a good game so far. We have about maybe 5 minutes left in this half.
Yeah, great game. Both teams defending well, and both teams at times attacking very well. Could go any way, either way. We're back to where we started, actually, so. This conversion could put DC up, but it's just short. Just short.
So we mentioned earlier it is a windy day, it's unclear where the wind is coming from. It seems like it's mostly swirling around, so I don't know how much. I don't know
Maybe
how
we're in
much
the
that's.
middle of a hurricane and we don't even know it. Tornado.
Well, I don't know that it's helping or hurting either team much right now. It's in the sense that soon we'll be switching fields, and I don't know that the wind is really much of a factor in the game, other than it's making some of the lineouts go skewed.
Absolutely. And there haven't been a tremendous amount of lineouts. So, you know, I think the things that are most important are the things that are actually going on in play for both teams. And so, but every possession counts, I guess. Every possession counts, especially in a series as such as this. This is national championships. This is where every mistake can hurt you, or and every good play can essentially help you at the end of the day. So
Absolutely, you have to take every opportunity that's given to you. And there we had a bit of a miss kick and a bit of a miss catch.
Miss kick, miss catch, resulting in a turnover to the DC Furies. We have a solid scrum. Pressure there on the scrum half to scrum half. Hannah Rosenthal.
Very nice kick ahead.
And that ball went back. But the mishandles here really, really offsetting New York. So
seems that DC came out with a bit of momentum from that score. And that's an interesting thing about rugby, that the momentum of the game can change pretty much on a dime.
Absolutely, absolutely. All you need is one blazing play that will psychologically change every player on that team, get them up, get them going. It makes a difference. And now we're going to have a
22 meter
dropout for New York. Ball was kicked back into the try zone.
A lot of mishandles today.
Lots of mishandles.
On both sides.
Absolutely. And it's not wet, so it's nerves. It's maybe not quite as much focus as on handling the ball and holding the ball and catching the ball. There are many reasons for mishandles, but typically it's because of lack of focus on catching that ball.
Yeah. Agreed.
And there we go. Theme of the day: mishandles. You got to catch the ball before you can do anything else with it. So it's one thing at a time. The thing with rugby is that you just have to put those things together, string them together very quickly. But you can't have one before the other. Can't run with the ball before you catch it. So
that is true.
Scrum down to DC. They have an 8-man pickup there. Making game line, making some good, gaining some good territory. Putting the pressure on New York. And I see an incredible opportunity on the weak side, but I don't think that DC sees that. Now they see it. And they start to line up their troops to go left.
This could be dangerous for DC. They're kind of left out.
Absolutely.
They've left a couple of their backs out.
And a penalty assessed against him as I think it was Lacey Higgins takes the quick tap. Trying to see a number on the backs. We don't necessarily get the best angles up here. At any rate, New York just kind of climbed out of a little bit of a hole there, taking a little pressure off. Just, going down the list of injured players for New York. Jordan Lexton was injured earlier this season. R2 was injured as well. Jamie Nelson Hooker is, I think, still out. Katie Brethel, who's not with us this weekend. Of course, new mother to Ryan, baby Ryan with Heidi.
Baby Riley.
Baby Riley. And Rebecca Brofman.
Riley Rose.
Captain of the New York team, Rebecca Brofman, out with a broken foot. I think she was slated to go on that tour as well with the Eagles, but she's on the mend.
So for that tour, for the Eagles tour, there is a fundraising drive that's currently taking place, and anyone who donates between today and November 13th, their donation will be matched by a generous and anonymous supporter who has agreed to match up to $4,000 for gifts received. So it's important to understand that these players are mostly self-funded, and they really do have to take time out of their own professional lives to not only train and be fit enough to play for their clubs and then fly down here and play for the championships, but also to represent their country. Most of that is coming out of their own pockets, and so if you feel that you want to support, you can do that at www.usarugby.org/Women's Eagles. And we're currently trying to raise $25,000 for that fall European tour, and we're very close. So dig deep.
Dig deep. Both teams here are digging deep. New York here is on the run, pressuring DC. Nice little pass back in to Nicole Humphrey there, and she stays on her feet until she's forced down. New York is on the charge now.
So here's a situation where we had DC really knocking on the door, and one penalty really just kind of changed the momentum of the game again, and gave New York a bit of possession, and they were able to capitalize on that.
Now they're going to all have a little bit of time, 10 minutes, to think about it, talk about it, re-strategize, come together and see how they can come out differently in this second half. Inez, we're still deadlocked at a score of 5-5. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Say with some color and a little bit of here and there. But
I think it's. I mean, don't you think that it's just more
yeah,
natural
yeah,
than like have someone doing all color and
yeah, yeah. Mixing it up.
I honestly, I couldn't keep up with the play by
No,
play.
no, no, the players.
And I don't know that I'm adding that much.
You are, you are.
No, because I have the.
Nancy, Nancy,
Nancy
Fitz
Fitz.
is the coach.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear anything? 1, 2, 3, 4. See, the levels are all fine here, unless we're missing some settings somewhere.
Something going on. See, I don't think it's in what was streaming so much.
You think it's here?
I think it.
Test 1, 2. Stream.
What's solo?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Put this on, see if you hear anything.
He's listening.
Can you hear? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
No, see, we're seeing the
1,
audio,
2, 3.
the audio levels.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
And they're all,
Watch those though. Yeah.
they're all at good level. That's the thing.
1, 2. I wouldn't plug that in there. I would leave that alone.
Okay.
We'll do it for the next game. 1, 2, 3.
I wanted to see if you're getting any output.
Well, they're seeing the video. They just can't hear it online.
Yeah, we're seeing the video.
1, 2.
What I wanted to check was whether you got line output.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. But that stuff is so flimsy. 1, 2, 3. Master is fine.
Oh yeah, yeah, the box. Yeah, yeah, we wouldn't be.
1, 2.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm hearing something. What are you doing?
I hit mono. 1, 2, 3.
Now you're. Oh, I'm hearing myself, but it seems
1, 2, 3, 4.
way overblown because I think that mic is.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I'll get them to talk.
Testing.
Yeah, testing. So, yeah, good to go. Okay. Oh hell no, Robin doesn't play rugby anymore. She's a art therapist. She's like immersed in. If she's not really. She got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She was, but then after she started with art therapy, I am.
Club Championships. And this is the semifinals of the Tier 2 championship. So these two teams are playing for positions 5 through 8 in the Women's Premier League Championship. And as Phaedra just stated, we are tied 5-5. And the kickoff to start the second half.
Nice catch there for New York. That's always a great way to start. Beautiful kick by DC. They're off.
So the first half we saw a very well-balanced matchup basically between these two teams. Saw some great defense by New York and also some very good attack. So
Penalty there, offsides by DC. New York's going to kick it out to touch.
So it's always interesting to try to figure out what the coaching staffs have said to the teams. So you, as a former or maybe not current player of the New York team, what would you be telling the team right at halftime?
You know, the focus on the breakdown is critical, and I would advise my forwards and backs alike to, you know, secure ball, get lower in those rucks, commit, you know, 3 to 4 people to those rucks to make sure we win it. Slow it down, you know, slow it down on every aspect. Slow down everything. You're rushing it, don't rush it. Slow it down. You know, stay disciplined, commit to tackles, 1 person per tackle. You know, the same thing that probably the coach. Coach Fitz, Nancy Fitz, had with the conversation she had with her team.
Sure.
It's the basics. It's always the basics, Inez, and those are the things that we just undervalue, but they're critical to winning championships.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. If I were standing in Nancy Fitz's shoes, I would definitely advise the team to slow it down a bit and try to get some phase play instead of attempting to score from the first possession. So we'll see. We'll see what the second half will bring. We had a lot of penalties in the first half, so hopefully those jitters have calmed down a bit and we'll see fewer penalties.
Line out to DC. They keep it conservative on that line out. Throw a nice low pass, and it was successful. They won possession, but now New York is mounting pressure on them. But the missed tackles, number 13 there for DC just broke through 3 New York players. Finger tackles. That was Rachel Greenling or Grindling. Bit of misfortune there. The ground tackled that DC player, but they maintain possession still, nonetheless. They're off to the races. Number 11 for DC, Valerie Winchell. Forced into touch.
Valerie, who she'd missed several games in the middle of the season due to a dislocated finger, so it's good to see her back on the field.
You know, the array of injuries among rugby players is unlike any other sport. I mean, you could pick any part of the body and it's susceptible to injury. You know, typically in basketball you have knees, you have ankles, sometimes you have shoulder injuries, but in rugby it's everything. Fingers, toes, spleens. I mean, you can throw a dart in the dark and hit any part of the body, and it's something that you can injure in rugby. So it's a sport that requires an incredible amount of training and fitness, and corrective exercise, which is something we don't hear about a lot. But it's certainly something that demands that in order to optimize performance in it. And I don't know how possible it is to get all that stuff in with a career and practice and commuting and life.
Absolutely.
It's just crazy. So my hat is off to every rugby player on that field right now for everything they do and have done to get here. And there you go. DC Furies have walked in a try from the scrum. That was an 8-man try. That was a scrum try, forwards try. Every forward's dream is to score from a scrum.
So it's interesting. The DC Furies were historically known as a very forward-oriented team, and I don't know if you remember playing them years back, but they really did a lot of mauling, a lot of driving scrums, things like that. And today's DC Fury team is a more balanced team where they really do have they have the strength in the forwards, but they also do have very dynamic backs, which I think so far has been helping them in today's match.
Yeah, I agree. And, it goes back to one of their, the things they identified as one of their strengths. And I mentioned earlier, they don't have to rely on one or two players when you can rely on 15 or 22, in fact. You have your reserves. So, yeah, they've displayed excellent balance. There's not been one subunit that has necessarily dominated over the other. Everyone's doing their jobs so that everyone has success. I completely agree with you on that. And I'm looking out on the field right now. Lori Rifkin, former New York player, then she bounced around to Berkeley. Now she's wearing the DC Furies jersey. It's interesting.
And Lori Rifkin wearing number 18.
Yes,
today?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And New York recovers that kick. DC did not attack it. Didn't attack that ball, and now New York is taking it to him.
So the score now for those of you just joining us is 12 to the DC Furies and 5 for New York Rugby Club. So we had a bit of a stalemate in the first half, and now we've seen the DC Furies come out with a bit of fury.
Bit of fury, in fact. And now New York is lashing out with a bit of fury, and they score. Nicole Humphrey puts it in on the corner here, number 11 for New York. And that's, right off that kickoff, that they were just, New York was tenacious in their attack. They didn't give up from the start of that kickoff. And the most susceptible time for a team to be scored on is after they score. After a score, whether they score or, the other team scores.
So Nicole Humphrey, another one of our attorneys on the pitch today. We're a very attorney-laden
I'd say litigious society we are in.
But Nicole Humphrey, she comes, she's stepping into some big shoes here in the New York Rugby Club. New York, historically known for having some very strong, very powerful wings.
Ellie Korvosky being one of them. Tyshawn Hurricane Henry, as we know her.
Venetia McGee, who is a current
absolutely
contracted USA Rugby player for the 7 squad.
Absolutely. So she's got some big shoes
to fill. Big boots to fill for Nicole
Yeah.
Humphrey, and she's doing a great job of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that kick was not good. And the score is now 12 to the DC Furies, 10 to New York. So it's a very close match still.
That was a great strategy by the DC Furies on that kickoff. They attacked on it and then almost maintained possession, almost retained possession, if you will. Unfortunate knock there, but hats off to that player for going for it. Have a scrum to New York. And that's, I don't, it appeared to wheel 180 degrees. I don't know if it, I'm looking for the indication by the ref. I think she's going to
Reset that scrum.
reset the scrum. You have to wonder if there was some pulling going on at that. Scrums have been, for the most part, equally matched. Nice little offload there from Kathleen Ryan to Jordan Lexton. New York is doing a great job of supporting. And that's a penalty assessed against the Furies. Defending player there losing her feet. Shoulders going below the hips. Body positioning is everything. It's for safety. It's for effect. New York's going to elect for the... Try to keep the ball in. Up. That DC Furies player did keep the ball in, but it's a knock-on, unfortunately. So that works out to the advantage of New York. They get lucky on that. Ball could not find touch.
Again, perhaps the wind playing a little bit of a role in that. We have a pretty heavy wind going across the field right now.
But you're a great kicker. I'm not going to say you were, because you are. And I know that you're not retired. You're just not playing right now.
Current,
Yeah.
I'm
So
taking time off.
But in a situation in a day like this, what is going through your mind as a kicker? As a fly-off, you do a lot of the kicking and kicking the touch.
Mm-hmm.
What is your strategy when you come across a day like today, a windy day, when you kick?
It's a good question. Really, it's placement of kicks. So with a wind like this that's coming pretty heavily from left to right, or from right to left across the field, I would try to position my kicks more toward the left side of the field and actually use the wind to my advantage. So putting high kicks going toward the left side of the field, and then if I'm kicking toward the right side of the field, so I'm talking orientation now if I'm playing for New York.
Okay.
So if I'm kicking into the wind, I'd like to keep the kicks low and drive them, so it actually would drive through the wind. And you can actually use wind like this to your advantage with well-placed strategic kicks.
Perhaps you should consult with some of these teams this weekend about strategy and kicking, because I don't know if they're thinking it that thoroughly through. But okay, that makes sense. Absolutely makes sense.
So yeah, right now we've had not a whole lot of kicking in this game, but many of the kicks they look like they're coming off of the foot a little bit odd, maybe not really well timed, but you can tell that the ones that are well placed, they're really being a bit of a headache for both teams.
Right.
So I think the team that has a player that can really use their foot to their advantage is really a dangerous team.
Absolutely. It's an opportunity actually for New York to, although it's not their possession, to put pressure on DC, and let's see what they do with it. And they do indeed put pressure, turn the ball over off that scrum. And they have a tremendous overload. If they can capitalize on this will put them up. And they do. It looks like number 15, Kathleen Ryan, scores over in the corner, putting New York up 15-12. Both teams have had a history of having a number of U.S. players amongst them. And just taking a look at the profile of D.C., they have a number of all-star level players. We've got Laura Miller, who's a 15 specialist, Eli White, 15s and 7s, Jenna Beard, 15s and 7s, Katie Bell, 15s, Julie Hogan, 15s and 7s, and Jess Shipley, 15s. And as far as current Eagles for the DC Furies, Laura Miller, who's a loose forward, she's going again, as we mentioned earlier, to this European tour, this USA Rugby European tour. Eli White, scrum half, she's in the 15s pool this summer, and Jenna Beard, she was in the 15s pool last year. So high caliber players, from both teams.
Absolutely. And I do want to take the time to mention again how much of the players will incur costs just to play rugby, to represent their country. And so you made a point that Laura Miller will be going on tour with the Eagles this fall. They'll be leaving on Tuesday to play in Italy and France, and that is mostly going to be a self-funded tour where the players will have to pay for a significant portion of their own costs. But for those of you listening, you can help out if you wish to support the Women's Eagles. There's a current fundraiser going on called the 5-Day Challenge, where we are accepting donations. Any donations given today through November 13th will be matched, so that you can double your impact of your donation if you give today. And you can do that by visiting www.usarugby.org/Women's Eagles.
Absolutely. Donate to these players. They give so much. They're building. These are the pioneers, the ones that have come before them. Pioneers building this game, so that one day these players don't have to pay. So building a profile of the sport, and maintaining it until, more money is available, until there's, a bigger audience. So thank you all out there who are tuning in and watching this match. Get more people out there watching this weekend. Support, support, support. That's how we build a community. Scrum down now to the DC Furies. Actually, turnover there by New York. And they're trying to climb themselves out of their red zone. And there's an advantage offsides by DC, and I think New York's going to go for that quick tap. And they take advantage. Little support, mishandle, and it consequently results in a knock-on. So even in this area of the field, although the pressure is against New York to get out of their red zone, they need to exemplify, I think, a little bit more poise. I think that quick tap was rushed.
Mm-hmm.
There was no support, and that could have been one of two breakdowns: communication by the support or lack thereof, or just a little over-eagerness to take the quick tap. But these are moments where capitalization on possession is it's key, it's critical, and this is a very tight match.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot to be said for patience. It's still early on in the second half. It seems like we've seen a bit of a reversal in the penalty count against DC. They did a good job of coming out in the first half very poised. New York almost seeming a bit rattled with penalty after penalty. But this second half has really been a reversal of that, where it's been a constant barrage of penalties against the DC Furies. And another example here of a penalty against the DC Furies. Looks like maybe they've taken a bit of your advice, Phaedra, and they're going to slow down the game a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's see if she can put some of your tactics to the kick. It looks like she got it lower this time.
There you go.
I think she heard you. It's amazing the things that are going on here on this field. I think these teams are listening to us as well. They're all wired.
They're all mic'd.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a earbud in their ear.
Exactly. See if Molly Dingler can hit point on with this line out. Straight enough there for the ref. And they break their gain line, and yeah,
Oh, and there's a very
Lacey Ruggiero gives a nice little stiff arm there. She's done very well running with the ball today. Kathleen offloads it there to Nicole Humphrey, who then offloads it back to her. Hannah Rosenthal getting in on the
nice
action.
little ball handling going on right now.
Nice little ball handling. Those two play very well together. They have their moments. New York is on the attack. Oh, nice run there by Jordan Lexton, but then a kick. Forwards, pick up your feet.
Yep, another penalty against the Furies.
New York gets lucky there.
And I think they are taking that. They're going to take that momentum that they've built up and try to gain some advantage from it, which does not appear.
Now's the time. Now's the time to reconsolidate and slow it down for New York. They can take a couple forward punches here, you know, but obviously they elect to get it out to the backs. But the poise and the patience could come in very well here. Looks like they're overloading the weak side, but they don't go to it.
New York very much looking like they're going to score right now.
They are, and they did. It's amazing. Do you have ESPN, or is that ESP? Yes, I have both.
I actually don't have ESPN.
Oh, pardon me.
I don't have cable.
That's awesome. Good thing, good thing. And it's a score for New York. It puts them up 20-12. They are starting to put a gap in this game, make it a little bit more difficult for DC to have a chance.
So now we've seen three unanswered tries in the second half by New York.
That's right. That's right.
So it definitely seems like there's been a switch in the momentum of this game.
That's Mary McCarthy, number 10, attempting the conversion again. See if she can make it happen. And it's good. Beautiful kick there by Mary McCarthy, putting New York up 22-12. 10-point differential here in this game. And they are going to be receiving that ball back.
Mary McCarthy, originally from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and currently a research assistant in Brooklyn, New York, living in Brooklyn, New York. She's a graduate of University of Michigan.
I think she's one of Kelly McMahon, the great Tonka, as we call her, and I call her Tweeds because she's my twin. Love you, man. But I think she's one of her players. She sent her out to New York. And speaking of Kelly McMahon, I mentioned the some of the players, the history of New York's USA legacy. Hedwig Ertz, you know, Kristen Baja, Kenya Warner, Tyshawn Hurricane Henry, Annie Collier, Lisa Lake, and as we mentioned, Ellie Jackalope Korvosky, Bex Wallison, Christina Hobbs, and I know I probably missed someone.
Of course, you,
Well,
Phaedra.
not myself, but someone
Carrie
else.
Dubray.
Carrie Dubray, the Boucher herself. That's right.
And I think of Carrie because I'm looking at the jet blue
Of course.
Red Sox stadium, and I know Carrie's a avid
She's
Red Sox
she is
fan.
the president
A hated
of JetBlue.
person probably in New York City at times during the baseball season.
Oh yeah, Red Sox fan. Huge Red Sox fan. Carrie, you'd love where we are right now. Oh, nice defense there by New York, putting the pressure on. They're just pressuring this DC squad, and they forced the turnover. DC needs to rise. They've got to rise a little bit. This is where you pull it in. These are the moments in the game that, can make or break you. They need to pull back on that first half poise that they showed so well. Nice little 8 pick there by New York as they spin it out to their 2 of their dynamic 3, back 3. It's a forward pass, unfortunately, resulting in a scrum down to DC.
So speaking of rugby, or Eagles alumni, this DC squad is coached by Nancy Fitz, who is a former member of the USA Women's Eagles, and she was a captain at the 2002 World Cup. Likely to have lots of notable Eagles, but she's the one that pops off the top of my head right now.
Absolutely. I had you as well. We both had the fortune of being captain, part of the team, captained by her. And it was good times. Those are great tours. We were talking about them just the other day.
Great tours, all self-funded.
Also,
and
absolutely.
Still today,
great time to play it.
Still today, the U.S. Eagles are still mostly self-funded. There's a current fundraising drive that's going on, and you can learn more about that by visiting www.usarugby.org/Women's Eagles. We're attempting to raise $25,000 for this upcoming European fall tour to Europe, to play Italy and France. So if you donate between today and November 13th, your donation will be matched by a generous and anonymous donor who's agreed to match up to $4,000 in gifts.
I failed to mention one very notable choo-choo Eagle, Lara Vivolo. She's going to kill me because she happens to be one of my closest friends, and I didn't even mention her. And so Lara is certainly played in this last World Cup, 2010 World Cup, for the Eagles. Did a great job, and is just a very prominent player for New York Rugby Club.
Absolutely, fantastic player and good person overall. And Lara, if you're listening, all we can say is "Mia piaci," which I think means "I'm sorry" in Italian.
Yes.
Lara, one of
absolutely.
our bilingual players.
Yes, absolutely. Looks like a player number 6 for New York down, but she's back up. That's Adria Orr. She may not be able to shake that off. She's going to get a little bit of attention.
And if I insulted anyone in Italian, I do apologize. Italian is not one of my foreign languages.
What foreign languages do you speak, Inez?
I speak Spanish. I'm a fluent Spanish speaker. So
Excellent.
Bienvenidos a todos los hispanos que están oyendo hoy.
Oui, that's French. That's about all I do. Nice. Take someone like Hedwig or Ertz speaks 10 foreign languages, or some hideous number, more than 3. So, yeah.
Very jealous.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I feel English is my second
Yeah.
is a foreign language to me.
Well, living in New York, I feel like we are in that English is the second language because it's so
diverse.
Spanish, yeah, so diverse, and it's Spanish-oriented, dominated in the area that I live, in particular. So, don't hear a lot of English up in Washington Heights and the Bronx. Mostly Spanish. All good. It's all good. Love it. So we have a scrum down to New York. Opportunity here for DC to rally, put pressure on.
Yeah, time to get back on the scoreboard. We've had 3 unanswered tries by New York in the second half. DC really did come out in the first half looking very strong and dominant. And they really have been neutralized in this second half by really lack of possession.
Yeah, can't score without the ball, as I say, and they've not had a lot of possession, as you mentioned. Looking to turn out. It looks like this ball is kind of in the middle. New York ends up with it. And this defense, you know, it's a slightly flawed defense there, allowing for holes and penetrations, which is what's led to the last 3 tries for New York. Just taking advantage and finding those holes in the defense. Defense wins games, wins championships. So. Little miscommunication, miscue there. Collision between the fly half and the outside center for New York. But again, DC's player losing their feet in the ruck, resulting in a penalty to New York. Adria Orr looks like she's down again. I'm not sure what's going on with her. I think maybe taking a contact minute. Yeah, I think she had to put her contact back in.
So rugby, like soccer, is a continuously running clock. The only time that the clock stops is at the end of the half, and also at the discretion of the referee for medical attention.
This weekend, these games, or these teams that are part of the WPL were divided up during their regular season play in conferences. And Conference 1 consisted of the Twin City Amazons, Beantown, DC Furies, and Keystone. Conference 2 consisted of Glendale, Berkeley, the San Diego Surfers, and New York. And this weekend is essentially a culmination of a season of a lot of travel, a lot of hard play. And this is kind of the pot of gold that awaits these players at the end of that rainbow. This match consists of the Tier 2 teams playing for places 5 through 8. DC takes over possession, but as quickly as they take over possession, they lose it. As that was Rachel Hughes, prop for New York, turned that ball over. And as soon as she gets up, she sees that her strong will and her good works have resulted in a turnover. That has to be probably one of the
Very
most
disheartening.
devastating things as a forward to see. Before you can get up from a turnover that you've created, you've lost it again. It's just the way of the game.
DC has spent about the last 5-10 minutes of the game in this area of the field, just trying to really bust through, and it's been kind of a stalemate of sorts. We haven't had much movement either way. Possession going back and forth, pretty much due to mishandling of the ball, but now it looks like we got a score.
DC puts it up, puts 5 points back on the board. They are not giving up. New York cannot let down in this match. We've got a 3-point game now, a 5-point game. This one score separates, these two teams. It's not? Did I get the score wrong? I thought it was 22-12. Puts them at 22-5. I'm sorry, 22-17.
Yes, you're right. 22-17.
Yeah. We do not have a scoreboard we're working with, folks. We're
We
managing.
just have our brains.
Yeah, we're man. And that's not
fingers.
always dependable. Exactly.
I'm running out of fingers and toes, so.
Abacus. We need one of those abacus, right? So that try was not converted, so we're still at standing at a score of 17 DC Furies, 22 New York, 5-point game. Did I say that right? Is that right? 22-5? Yeah, my math is off. It's been a while. So one try could tie this game for DC, and then a converted try would obviously put them on top. It's critical times, critical times. And that turnover there forced.
Very quick turnover.
Yeah, by Jordan Lexton. She just stripped that ball off of the DC Furies player. And now Nicole Humphrey takes control. Works hard, focuses to maintain, pull that ball back in. She almost lost it. And that's offsides there by DC. And I'm hearing Kathleen Ryan shout to her players, slow down. That's the best advice you can give. Absolutely slow down. Time is on the side of New York right now. They have all the time in the world. They have the lead. They have the ball. There's no rush to do anything but let this game ride out.
So you had mentioned earlier in the first half how momentum can really change very quickly, and often right after a try is scored, and we've seen that here, where DC scored a try, and just within minutes of that kickoff, we're really seeing New York back down in the DC red zone.
And that was a beautiful line out into a mall. DC did a very good job. I'm sorry, New York did a very good job of getting nice and low and driving and staying patient. I don't know, I would have kept that ball in probably a little bit more even. But DC has now won possession on the scrum. I think that possession is going to go to DC. Oh, actually, it went to New York. Last hit by a DC player, or knocked on by a DC player. I can't imagine there's more than 10 minutes remaining in this game. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you're about right. There's probably a little over 10 minutes left in the game. And right now we're just separated by one unconverted try, so it really still is anybody's game at this point.
Just want to note that photos from this tournament will be available at www.klphotos.com/USA Rugby. Again, that's www.klcphotos.com/USA Rugby.
So it's interesting. We've seen DC. We haven't seen many penalties go to DC in the second half, and they're starting to maybe take that advice and slow the game down a little bit. Where earlier in the first half, they basically did take every penalty that they got or many of them to tap and go. So here we're seeing a bit of a change in their strategy. Perhaps realizing that now is the time to really maintain and retain possession of the ball in order to to try to close that gap.
Absolutely. And there's plenty of time in this match remaining to score. They have plenty of time. Proper execution, catching the ball, just executing the basics as we go back to executing the basics. If they can do that well, they have a chance. I mean, this game is not over by any means. There again, another penalty assessed against DC Furies. Player losing her feet, diving over, essentially is what that indicates. Anytime the shoulders go below the hips, the player is susceptible to being called for a penalty in that ruck situation. Or they essentially come off their feet.
We're seeing one of the New York players kind of come up slow, and
it's like number 12, Caitlin Ruggiera.
And Caitlin has been a big impact on the team. She's very hard running inside center. She's busted through the DC defense on several occasions, so hopefully she's okay.
Yeah, she certainly has. She's been a force on that attack for New York today. And there's a penalty against New York. It appeared that they had the momentum in that scrum, but I think that one of their flanker broke off early. Creating that penalty.
It's interesting, the DC Furies do not really use their foot a lot. There's a lot of space back here that could be exploited with a well-placed kick. And they're choosing to keep ball in hand against this very strong New York defense, which is it's interesting, and it's perhaps there's not the confidence in the kicking abilities at this point, but these are very large, wide fields, and although New York is strong with ball in hand, they really haven't displayed great catching abilities.
Absolutely.
So perhaps if I were standing in Nancy Fitz's shoes, I might
employ a different strategy altogether.
Get my team to.
Well, she's going to have to do it on Sunday in their match play for 7th place, essentially. Because New York closes out here today, 22. Fury 17. This game is over. Great play demonstrated by both teams. Kudos and hats off to both. Very well played match, But at the end of the day, New York comes out on the top end of the stick, and they will be playing for 5th place on Sunday. Thank you guys for joining us for this amazing day and this amazing match and this amazing tournament, the 2012 Emirates Airlines USA Rugby Women's Club Championship. Inez, thank you for joining me today.